Hey guys, so I'm here with Lyn Ulbricht, Ross's mom, and we're just hanging out in our room the end of World CryptoCon.
Yeah.
It's been a fun, long week. But anyway, we're gonna chat and hang out. So thanks for coming on the show. I don't know if this is a show, but
Hey.
you know.
Always fun to talk with you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it's been great hanging out with you.
So for those who, we're not going to really dig into the whole story of Ross because that's something that, we'll link to some other interviews you've done below. What we're going to talk about today a little bit more is why you should care about this case and the impact that it really has on, the fact that this could happen in our society. And so, but maybe before we dig in, for those who aren't familiar with Ross, could you give us just like a kind of 1,000-foot overview of if you can?
Because it is a complicated case, and you can go to freeross.org as well, and there's lots of information. You can dig pretty deep in there, and it's all cited and footnoted and all that. But essentially, when Ross was 26 years old, he created the Silk Road website with the intention of providing an open, free market that was private and used Bitcoin as the means of exchange. And it was pretty much all just open, whatever people wanted to exchange, except if it hurt a third party. So it was based on the non-aggression principle of voluntary interaction. So for example, there was no child porn because that, abuses a child, that's the third party, or stolen property, or other things that hurt others were not permitted. But otherwise, it was unregulated. It was just open, whatever people wanted to buy or sell, and there was the platform. And so people did choose to exchange drugs, most commonly user amounts of cannabis, but that was not regulated. It was permitted. So for this, for his involvement in it, Ross received a double life sentence plus 40 years without parole. He's for all nonviolent charges, no violence involved, first-time offender. This is crazy. This is such an abuse of government power to do that to a young first-time peaceful offender, and so unnecessary. So I've been fighting to get him out of this for over 6 years now, and so that's kind of the story in a nutshell.
And I think what's really scary about that is that someone could make a website and have this happen to them. And that's what's scary. You think that, we've been told the criminal justice system, you're, innocent until proven guilty. And it's all of this stuff, but it's scarily not true.
Yeah. No, it's true. And that's one of the things that's alarmed me through this whole thing, because I went into this, we live in America. We have fairness in trials. We have justice system. I have seen up close and personal this is not true. It's absolutely not. And you cannot count on a fair trial at all. And in fact, you're penalized for going to trial. And no, it's it would take a whole show just to go into all this, but you're correct. We don't, and we're losing our freedoms very fast. And people need to be concerned, which is one reason this case is important, which is what you were talking about. It sets a precedent. So it's not just about Ross. It sets a precedent in the courts and in our justice system for more of these kind of egregious draconian sentences, which really violate the Eighth Amendment, which has no cruel and unusual punishment. This is a cruel and unusual punishment. It's very unusual for a nonviolent first-time offender, and it is cruel. It's a walking death sentence for something he did on a computer when he was 26 years old. So, so it sets a bad precedent.
That's gotten him into all these high security. Like you said, that is torture. That is horrible because you're in these really dangerous situations for building a website.
Yeah, and Ross actually wrote an article called "Who Deserves This?" making the case that it is torture. And what happened, he went around to his fellow prisoners and said, if you had a choice between this unending sentence or decades and decades of being in here or actual torture, flogging or burning or whatever you want to pick for a limited time, which would you pick? They all picked the torture, the actual physical torture, which shows this is torture, what we're doing. And it doesn't solve anything really except hardening people to be criminals and and costing a lot of money for the taxpayers.
Why does this matter? Like, why should the average American or even just citizen of really the world like be concerned with what's happening with this case?
Well, you know, we have something called the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
I've heard of it.
And I know this doesn't apply to other countries, but I think American policy does impact the world, for better or worse. And there have been several of the amendments that have been blatantly violated in this case. And that weakens all of our protections, and I can quickly go down them. First of all, there's the First Amendment, because the judge flat out said that she was punishing him for his philosophy of libertarian, voluntary interaction. She said it. It's in the sentencing transcripts. It's right there. And this is, you know, we're not supposed to be imprisoned and condemned to die for our philosophical or political beliefs in the United States. This is not supposed to happen here. So that's the First Amendment. The Fourth Amendment was violated, and this went all the way to the Supreme Court, because right now, under the third-party doctrine, the government can, without a warrant, without probable cause, in secret, with no oversight, delve into all of our internet activity and use it however they like, without our knowledge. And in Ross's case, they also targeted his home with a directional antenna, where they tracked him in his home where he went, and without a warrant. Wow. They can do that to you. They can be doing it to you right now. And this is a Fourth Amendment problem. And that was brought to the Supreme Court, and they punted it down the road. Then there's the Sixth Amendment. Well, there was the Fifth Amendment, because the Fifth, and that gets a lot of things, because that's due process in a trial. And Ross's trial, well, just one example, there were two corrupt agents. They've been proven to be corrupt. They were stealing. They had the ability to act as the administrator, Dread Pirate Roberts, or many other aliases. They stole 20,000 Bitcoin or something. They're in prison now, and this was not allowed to be told to the jury. The jury had no idea these guys existed.
Wow.
And actually, the judge didn't know that one of them existed. The prosecution kept him secret from the judge even until after trial. This is a due process, Fifth Amendment violation, and so that's that. Then there's the Sixth Amendment. And the Sixth Amendment, one of the aspects of it is to protect the accused from rogue judges and prosecutors saying, we don't care if a jury ruled on something, we don't care what they ruled, we're saying it's true. And this happened with Ross in the case of this murder for hire. It was never brought to trial. It was never proven. It was never given to a jury to rule on. He was never convicted of it. And yet the judge used it and said, I know better than a jury, I think it's true, and I'm going to use it to enhance this sentence. And by the way, there was an indictment in Maryland for this that included this murder for hire that has now been dismissed with prejudice. So there is nothing out there in the legal world about this, and yet the media, talked about it and they gave it to the media. But in any case, that was a violation, Sixth Amendment violation, again, brought to the Supreme Court, again, not interested. And this has been going on. I mean, Justice Scalia wrote about it before he died, that this should not be. Our Constitution guarantees this protection, and it is. So these are just examples of things that are being shredded in our rights. They're being weakened. And then you can just take the drug exception in court, because if something's about drugs, well, that's that's drugs. So there's a drug exception. So who cares about the Bill of Rights?
Wow.
So, and there, this is complicated and you can go into a lot more, but that is just an overview. And this is all in Ross's case. And also his case is kind of Alex Winter said this, it's kind of a pivotal point for the drug war, cryptocurrency, financial independence and all of that, and other issues, privacy. There's many precedents being set, and we even have a page on our website, Web Precedents. And this all matters because, people go in the future and ongoing, that's what they refer to. Oh, there's that precedent. We can do this now because its precedent is set. So these aren't just about Ross's rights being violated. This is about ours being in peril. And so it does matter. And if Ross is commuted, his sentence is commuted, that helps push back on this tendency.
Right, on that precedence. And then it doesn't.
Yeah, because it's saying, no, this isn't right.
And what's crazy to think about is, if you weren't so like vocal and attending all these conferences and doing everything you're doing with the petition, like Ross's case probably would have just kind of fallen into oblivion. And you think about how many people don't have someone like
That's right.
that's fighting so hard for them. Like that's scary. Like how many people are just locked up that
thousands
shouldn't
and
be.
thousands and thousands, and I know them and I know their families, and look, I'm they don't know, they're overwhelmed, they don't know what to do, they don't have my big mouth. And it's finally being put to use. And so but no, their families are being destroyed, they don't know what to do, and their loved ones are being caged for ridiculous amounts of time. I mean I personally know some, Ross knows many, and it's not what we should be doing in this country, and it's not what we used to do. This is a new thing. This is since the drug war and the tough on crime laws that are ridiculous, and they don't really produce results. It's not like they stop people using drugs.
Right. I think we found that to be true.
I think that's pretty well established.
Yeah. And I think what's kind of scary about it too is like one of the things you said was they were trying to kind of just set a precedent, make an example out of him.
Yeah, they said it.
And they said it. And that's, like you said, like we should be protected against that. And so the fact that that can just happen
That's right.
is a big deal.
Right. We're supposed to be judged as an individual, not to be used by the government to send a message. That's not what our justice system was supposed to be. Yeah, exactly.
So for those of you that have not signed the petition yet, like obviously we'll put everything below that you can check out. But really this case is important, and having conversations with people you meet, letting them know about Ross can be a super impactful thing. I know that I've had lots of conversations with friends of mine who are like, oh, I heard something about that. What is that? And when you really tell them what happened, it opens their eyes, because they just, if you're not aware of it, you don't even know necessarily what's going on or the corruption that's happening within the system.
And I have a eyewitness to it. I mean, I didn't know about it either, and but I don't think there's been one person that I've told about the Ross's sentence that hasn't been absolutely shocked.
Right.
You don't think this is going on. It is going on. And life sentence for a nonviolent first-time offender. No, you'd think he had bombed a building or, mowed down people with a machine gun or something like that. And he's totally peaceful. And it was, he was young. He was idealistic. And does he need to pay for that for the rest of his life? It's just too much. It's just awful. And so that's all you need to realize to sign the petition. You don't have to think, oh, I think everything he did was good. He even says it wasn't. He's like, I'm sorry I did it. But you have to think, is this justice? Is this how we want our justice system to work, that we do this? And please go to freeross.org/petition. We have gotten 6,000 signatures in this week.
Yeah, let's talk about
It's
that.
so
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Oh my God, it's just like so great. And we're heading for 250,000. And I want to be able to go to Congress people and legislators and the president and say 250,000, or actually what I really want to say is 500,000, but we'll take a quarter.
We'll get there. Yeah.
People care about this. Please consider this. We will approve of you doing this, and it sends a message. And we're also asking people in different states to go. Free Ross people to go with signs and talk to media at the Trump rallies, to get his attention, to have him see. Now these are people. We care about this, and of course, if anybody has political connections, we're just trying to get to the president and have him look at this, and really consider it objectively and all the facts. And finally, of course, we always need financial support. Because lawyers cost a lot of money. Other people cost a lot of money. This whole thing costs, that's one of the ways that they crush you, is that the government has unlimited money. And, I can't just go over to the basement and print more like they can.
There's no quantitative easing button on their computer.
But, any help that way. Or just, there's lots of ways you can help. You can just get in touch with me. It'd be really great. But sign the petition. Please share it, too.
Yeah, definitely. Sign the petition. Tell people you know about it. Donate Absolutely. So we'll link to all of that below. Thanks so much for taking the time to
Yeah.
chat with me over coffee,
Yeah,
at the end of the conference.
Yeah.
And so,
well, you've been a good friend and helped me actually. I stayed in your room. I'm always on a budget.
It's been fun.
I'm always on a budget. And and I'm happy for the opportunity. Yeah, thanks.